Well, thank you so much, Randy and Terry and the whole team at the Burlington Chamber for organizing this event today. And a big thank you to the DeGroote Business School at McMaster as well for hosting us here. McMaster is an incredible university in our region, and we are so fortunate to have the really amazing DeGroote Business School here in Burlington in the fall, I think it was. I was here talking to business students, MBA students, and I can tell you that there is a lot of energy, a lot of drive, a lot of passion, and a lot of innovation for our future that is coming right out of this school. So thank you so much for hosting us, and to Dean Khalid Hussainin, we're very much looking forward to this conversation. I really want to give thanks to, I know they were already recognized, but my dear friends and colleagues, MPs Pam Demoff and Lisa Hepner, who are here, who are a good and strong part of our communities in Burlington and Hamilton, and I'm so delighted to be on the same team with them as we fight for things that are important for Canadians in Ottawa. And again, to Rory Nissen, one of our city councillors, thank you for being here as well. In a moment, we're going to get to what I think will be a very interesting fireside chat with my dear friend and colleague, the Honourable François-Philippe Champagne, the Minister of Innovation, Science and Economic Development. For many of you who know François-Philippe, you will know that he is one of the most energetic people that you will ever meet in your entire lives. And I have had the pleasure of working with him closely over the past 9 years, and he and I entered cabinet at the same time. And so it has been a wonderful journey working alongside him. And he has an incredible memory, but incredible energy. And so I thought I would just tell you a small anecdote that I don't know if he remembers, but shortly after we got into cabinet, we both happened to be in Mexico City. And now I was there. And we're at the airport in Mexico City taking the red eye home, right, to Canada. And he had just come off of like a 6-week leg traveling the world as the new Minister of International Development. And I'm in the airport, it's midnight, and I'm sitting there and like very tired and quiet. And all of a sudden I hear someone go, "Minister!" And I was like, what? Who knows me here? And it just so happened that it was François-Philippe Champagne. And then he proceeded to shake everybody's hand that was in the waiting area at the gate. And looking forward, yeah, they were, many of whom were Canadian, to welcome them back to Canada on our way back. But the reason why I tell that story is because he is someone who's full of energy. He is always, looking for the next thing, and he is an incredible deal maker. If you need someone to make a deal, François-Philippe is your guy. And here in our area, he has done such important work making investments in a wide range of our industries, whether it's in tech, whether it's in nuclear, whether it's in the automotive sector, whether it's in energy. We have been really fortunate to have him as a partner and friend and colleague in Ottawa. And so without further ado, merci beaucoup, Monsieur Champagne. Je suis vraiment contente que tu es ici. And we're looking forward to hearing from you today. So thank you very much.
Thanks, Karina. I'd now like to invite the Dean of DeGroote School of Business at McMaster University, Khalid Hussainin, to the podium so that he can introduce our keynote speaker.
Thank you, Randall. It is my pleasure to welcome you to the Ron Joyce Center, McMaster University, for this special event. Made possible through the leadership of the Burlington Chamber of Commerce, I would like to welcome the Honourable Minister François-Philippe Champagne, Canada's Minister of Innovation, Science and Industry. It is always a pleasure to have you visit McMaster, Minister. I'd also like to welcome the MPs in attendance, the Honourable Karina Gould, and thank you for your kind words about the school in McMaster, Pam Demoff, and Lisa Hepner. Welcome to the group in McMaster. As the Dean of the DeGroote School of Business, I'm honored to represent the school and McMaster University, and I'm incredibly proud of the collective work that we do here, the important initiatives that we support, and the impact that we create locally and globally. We are tackling complex challenges facing society by transcending disciplines, borders, and sectors, creating partnerships locally, nationally, and globally, and attracting the best and brightest faculty and students to identify problems and innovate solutions. Central to our mission is creating spaces for conversation that matter, conversations that address the challenges and opportunities shaping our future. Today's event exemplifies this commitment, bringing together community, academia, and government to share insights, explore avenues for collaboration, and to inspire meaningful actions. It is now my pleasure to introduce our keynote speaker, the Honorable François-Philippe Champagne, Minister of Innovation, Science, and Industry. Minister Champagne is a businessman, lawyer, and international trade specialist, a distinguished leader on both the national and international stages. Elected as a Member of Parliament MP for Saint-Maurice, Champagne in 2015, Minister Champagne has served in numerous high-impact roles, including Minister of Foreign Affairs, Minister of Infrastructure and Communities, and Minister of International Trade. Today, we have the unique opportunity to hear directly from Minister Champagne in what promises to be an insightful and engaging discussion. Following our conversation, we'll open the floor for a Q&A session, so please hold any questions until then. And now, please join me in a round of applause in welcoming Minister Champagne to the stage.
Yes, here we go. Here we go. What a day. I don't know how you feel today, but it was a big day. Before you start, I know you're supposed to ask the questions, but let me start before you. You know, it's like in Parliament, I always say, I hope you have good questions for my answers. And Karina would know that. Let me start with Karina. I just want to say thank you. Thank you for organizing that. We had planned that event months before, and I can tell you the crowd in Toronto where I was today, they were so curious about where I was going next. And when I said Burlington, they all wanted to follow on the highway. I said, guys, relax. I've already made the announcement. So I just want to say to Karina, thank you for doing that with the Chamber of Commerce. And I would say you are lucky to have someone like Karina. I'll start with Karina, but trust me, I have as much to say about Pam and Lisa. But Karina is the leader in the House. For those of you who don't know, she is kind of this quiet force during question period. She's basically the one who tried to organize us, first to be as responsive as one can be in this momentous time. But I would say, Karina, I've had the privilege not only to meet you at the airport in Mexico, but during the House time, when we're in question period, believe it or not, she decides who gets to answer. So you know now why I'm nice to her, because every time I want to answer a question, I have to ask Karina, can I go? And she would say, yes, you go. And I just want to say Burlington is very lucky to have, because when Karina speaks out, I will listen. And it's a real privilege to be with you, my friend. And I know you have big decisions to make, so I'm sure everyone here is cheering for you. I would hope, we're in Burlington, and that you make the best possible decision. And I know it's a very personal one. We have a lot of things with Trump and everything, but I just want to say thank you. Pam, I would probably, you know, you may know or not, but Pam has been she has been the inspiration. You know, on the isotope, you may want to talk about that with McMaster and everything. But Pam really, what she did, she saved lives. She came to see me one day and she said, Minister, if you're acting that we can produce isotopes in Canada, we're going to save lives around the world. And it's so true what Pam did that I was at the Cleveland Clinic. I studied in the U.S. at Case Western Reserve. I was not smart enough to come to McMaster, so I went south. So I went to Case Western. and I remember meeting the CEO of the Cleveland Clinic, and he said, Minister, if you stop producing the isotopes, people will die here in this hospital. And I just want to say thank you, Pam, because at the time I took that decision, I did not know the impact in the world, but you made me realize that McMaster made it happen. So my friend, there's very few times in your life that you could say what you did is saving lives. Pam has saved lives in the world. So I just want to say. And to my friend Lisa, Lisa is this force. You may believe I'm here because of Karina, but trust me, every time I walk in Parliament, Lisa is reminding me about what have I done lately for Burlington and for the region. Hamilton, sorry. Well, you know, it could be worse, you know, trust me. I've done worse than that. We've just started. But Lisa has been the voice of Lisa in cabinet and around the caucus and making sure that we deliver for the region is essential. So my dear friend, I'm so proud, and I'll always be there for you. And whenever you ask me something, you know that you have to teach me to say no because I always say yes to you. So I want to continue with that. So ladies and gentlemen, just wanted to say our colleagues have been a great voice, but apparently you're supposed to ask the question, so I'll let you start.
Okay. So my first question is about entrepreneurship and commercialization. So these areas are really important priorities for McMaster and DeGroote. And nationally and globally are key priorities for McMaster. The McMaster Seed Fund and the New Student Seed Fund help startups founded by McMaster students, faculty, and alumni to advance their innovations and deliver significant economic and social benefits to Canadians. At DeGroote, the new McLean Center for Collaborative Discovery on main campus is anticipated to open this coming fall. We will have an entire floor dedicated to entrepreneurship activities, enabling McMaster students to bring their ideas to life through hands-on learning and application. Minister Champagne, this is a two-part question. What advice would you give to our aspiring entrepreneurs, and what supports are available federally to help advance their ideas?
Well, first of all, I want to say thank you to all of you in the room, you know, whether it's professors, students, researchers, a member of the Chamber of Commerce. I mean, let me say the Chamber, you play a big role across Canada. I had the privilege, my first job was at the finance, actually. I was the parliamentary secretary to Bill Morneau at the time. And I crisscrossed the nation, and I must say your voice matters. And the fact that you're here with the university, I think is unique and is great. Let me say that, you know, the Chamber of you, Chair, and the executive. I would say entrepreneurship is the key. You know, let's remember that 98% of Canadian companies are small and medium-sized businesses. This is the bedrock of Canada. And for those of you who may know, I come from Shawinigan, so you may remember the other guy from Shawinigan. They call him the little guy. Today they call me a good guy. I don't know. It's an interesting thing. They always tried to find names for us. But one thing I could say, I come from a region, and why I'm saying that to you, which had been mono-industrial for generation. I come from a small town, which is probably the reality of many places, even Hamilton and Burlington and others, where if I look at my family, pretty much everyone worked at the plant. We had the largest Alcan plant at the time, the aluminum plant. And what it did to our community was prosperity for a century. But it eroded the entrepreneurship spirit. And I've seen that at a century after we had to reinvent ourselves, because for a century, it was just common knowledge that you would go work at the plant because that was what you needed. But I think that if you lose the entrepreneur and the spirit of entrepreneurship, you are putting yourself in a danger zone, I would say. As much as it's good to have big enterprises, the bedrock of our nation is really small and medium-sized businesses. And I'm one who believes in manufacturing. I know this is kind of the heartland of manufacturing in Canada. And if you look at the story of South Korea, of Germany, of Japan, I always say, find me a nation today which has been prosperous and has been ambitious without manufacturing. I believe in manufacturing. I believe in the sector. I believe that we are, but over decades, you know, when we exported the manufacturing to Asia, now we have seen a re-onshoring, friendshoring, however you want to put that. And I think what you've seen with COVID is that these global supply chains are becoming more local. And people put more emphasis on resiliency than pure efficiency. So I would say for the next generation, I always say there's 5 Ds. I see the 5 Ds of the biggest driver in the world today. And I call that my 5 Ds. The first one is decarbonization. And regardless of the administration or any administration or government, climate change is the challenge of our century. And I would say we owe it to the younger generation to act. And I would say Canada, thanks to what we've been doing, we're at the forefront of that. We've invested to decarbonize how we make steel. We invested to decarbonize how we make aluminum. We did that with the auto sector. We're doing that with the aerospace sector. So that's the first D, and I would say Canada has everything to win in that new economy of the 21st century. The second one I would say to the students is digitization. The world is becoming digital. So AI and quantum are going to be key driver of prosperity. I think, when people talk about Canada and our productivity challenge, I said the holy grail of productivity for me is going to be AI. I think AI, and I can go on if you want on that. I happened to be with the CEO of NVIDIA recently. Well, I'll share with you the story anyway. It's a good story. I was with him in Toronto. And NVIDIA, you may know or not, is probably the company today either which has the largest market cap in the world or the second one. The day I met him, his company was worth as much as the Canadian economy altogether. So someone who had some success, you may say at least, in building something. And I was with him and I said, try to translate to me, the biggest transformation I've seen in my life is the internet. And people have compared AI with the internet or before electricity, but obviously electricity was there when I was young. And I asked him pointedly, I said, how would you compare AI to the internet? And he paused for 30 seconds, which is pretty long if you're just two guys looking at each other and you're talkative like me. And 30 seconds is a long time. And he said, Minister, I think it's going to be 100 times more powerful in terms of augmenting the capability of humanity. So I went home that night and I said to my wife, assuming this guy doesn't really know what he's talking about, I'm assuming he's 50% wrong, that would be 50 times. And I said, assuming this guy is really honestly, just discard the guy, he doesn't really know, he's just been lucky in his life, doesn't really know about computing and chips and all that. Assuming he's 95% wrong, that would still be 5 times more than the internet. So I would say to any students, I think you're living in a new age. As much as we call the Industrial Revolution, I think AI and quantum and you could put cyber, that it's going to have a huge impact on society. The other D I would say is demography. And I think demography is destiny. And you've seen that in parts of Asia, declining population. If you can still attract talent, you're going to do well in the 21st century. The fourth D I would say is disruptions. We're going to live in a world with disruptions, whether we like it or not. Some of us would remember the fall of the Berlin Wall, and I think we thought probably we were in this peace dividend, stability, predictability, rule of law, has provided humanity with prosperity. And now we see we have war in Europe. I lived 20 years in Europe. If you'd asked me when I was there that would have war, people would have looked at you and say, really? No. This is something gone. We have obviously tension in the South China Sea. We have conflict in the Middle East. So I think disruptions is going to be part of the next future. And the last thing I would say, democracy. I think this is a time, and I want to applaud all the elected officials, my colleagues, but at every level, we need to fight for democracy. I think we have been taking democracy for granted in many parts of the world, and now we're seeing the challenges, whether you've seen what's going on in South Korea and in many other European countries. So for me, these 5D, decarbonization, digitization, demography, disruption, and democracy are going to be with us for the foreseeable future. And that's why I think in a world like that, if I'm a student and I'm thinking, you have the chance to reinvent the world. You're going to have tools that none of us, I look at most people, none of us would have ever anticipated. And human brains, but there's doctor here, so I'll be, or physicist, I feel that time is accelerating. Although they said, Minister, don't say that too often, that's not possible, but I use it anyway. Because it feels like that. I don't know, I assume it's not true, but it feels. And when you think like that, I think that time accelerating, and our human brain is less able to think exponentially. And if you want to understand the world that is coming, you have to think exponentially. Human brains are pretty good to imagine 5 years from now, maybe 10. But when you go beyond 10, I look at my iPhone, and I remember I said that to my daughters, and I said, just imagine that my phone has more computing power than when we landed on the moon. And we have more computing power than the whole Alexandria library at the time. And I remind them, I didn't grow up with the Flintstones. I said, listen, it's just, these things have happened very, very quickly. And if you ask yourself today, at this, where we are with a technology-based economy, trying to predict what the world's going to be in 30 years, I would say maybe you're able, Dean. But I think we'll see things. I was reading Genesis. This is a new book from Eric Schmidt and Henry Kissinger before he died. And it's really challenging us to think about, with these new tools and technology and the things that the students of today will have, the shape of the world to come and the jobs to be created and the industry to be started is going to be phenomenal. I'll give you one example. I'll stop there. But there's an amazing company here that people know probably very little about, called Xanadu. Xanadu is a startup in Toronto. It is the only quantum computer in the world that does with battery chemistry. Because if you want an EV vehicle, a battery is basically chemistry. They're known around the world. When I talk to the CEO of BMW, you say Canada maybe, Xanadu for sure. Everyone knows Xanadu. Why? Because with a quantum computer, you save 3 years in R&D for battery technology. So if you're in business with these guys, you know that these companies are going to be making a difference. And I was just at one university recently in Canada. Imagine, those of you maybe engineers, you need magnets and motors. Well, we have a bunch of students who invented the motors without magnet. And if you think about that, what we're going to, these are going to be game-changing in terms of what we do. And, Canada has the talent. We have the very strong, we attract more talent than most nations. We have very strong ecosystem. We're the third largest manufacturer of airplanes in the world. We are a significant market for car manufacturing, critical minerals, natural resources. We have the critical minerals and proximity to market, assembly line, and obviously the mines. We have renewable energy, and we have access to market. We're the only country of the G7 which has a free trade agreement with all the other G7 nations. We have access to 1.5 billion consumers around the world. And we're next to the largest consumer market in the world. So when people are saying, chin up, elbows up, we cannot live under Pax Americana, but in a world like that of disruption, I think Canada can win in the economy of the 21st century.
That's great, and wow, you touched these answers to all my questions.
I can help you with some questions.
I thought Xanadu was, I knew it was a movie, like a long time ago. But my second question is on something you touched on. So at McMaster, we have a strong focus on energy health. An initiative co-led by the Faculty of Business, Engineering and Science, and with Canada's shift to decarbonization through a commitment to achieve 100% zero-emission vehicle sales by 2035 for all new light-duty vehicles, McMaster is excited to be at the forefront supporting this effort. I know you have been to the McMaster Automotive Research Center, Mark, and have met some of the students and researchers driving this world-class R&D facility at the McMaster Innovation Park. So, we are helping develop the requisite talent. Well, Minister, how is the federal government seeking to match access to critical minerals to the demand of EV production?
And I was wondering, where did I see this great motor without magnet? I think it's at McMaster. So it's good, because, sometimes you see a lot of things, you try to go back. It's like when Karina said we met at the airport in Mexico. I remember, I started laughing. And I think it's at McMaster where I saw that you invented this motor without magnet. Listen, I think critical minerals are going to be in the 21st century akin to what oil was in the 20th century. Those who are going to have critical minerals are going to lead the world. You know why? Because you need critical minerals to manufacture semiconductors, and among many things. And you also need critical minerals to manufacture batteries. And by the way, I was just, we were looking at our friends down south, and I was just saying earlier today, but Canadians may know or not that we should really go there with a feel of strength. First of all, when I'm going to the United States, say, hope you're happy to see me, because I represent your biggest customer. I buy more from you than China, Japan, the UK, and France combined. And in my world, you treat well your first customer. which happens to be Canada. And I reminded them recently in a discussion with one very pertinent sphere, I said, just so you know or remember, 80%, bear with me, 80% of all the semiconductors produced in the United States or manufactured in the United States are packaged and tested in Canada. Why? Because the largest IBM facility in the world, not in North America, not in Canada, in the world, happens to be in Beaumont, Quebec since 1971. So all the 80% of all the semiconductor produced are packaged and tested in Canada. So I just reminded them a few things like that sometimes. So I said, let's make sure when, elbows up, you want to talk about trade, you want to talk about opportunities, you want to talk about growth for sure. But let's be mindful of what's going on. And critical minerals is one of those where I think Canada can play a big role. You may have seen that China recently banned the export of gallium and germanium. Don't feel bad if you don't know what they are. I learned it like a few months ago, by the way. I didn't know how critical they were in missile defense system, by the way, and how you do that. It so happened that the largest producer in the world, outside of China, of germanium and gallium and tungsten, and now more recently titanium, is Canada. Now, when you're talking to our American friends on that, I just reminded them that you didn't go with your investment, because it was Canadian investment. We invested in a facility of about $1 billion. Now, in Sorel, Quebec, which happens to be the largest site that they have after the Second World War, we're going to be soon producing titanium that you're going to transform in powder. With powder titanium, you do 3D printing. With 3D printing of titanium powder, you replace part of jets on aircraft carriers. Now, I said, if you say no to Canada, be mindful to whom you're going to say yes. Because if you're basically saying no to Canada, you're saying yes to the like of China, because that's where the supply would come. So I think we should, I know the rhetoric has been high. I would say elbows up. We're not going to be under Pax Americana anymore, but we need to make sure that we put these things forward. And when you're talking about critical minerals and what Canada has been able to do, I think we've been able to seize generational opportunities. And when people are going to look back in time, the fact that we have now landed, and I can see that they would want us to conclude, but it's good. We just get 2 questions. Then we will get to the root. But I just want to say there is a lot for people to be proud of. And I think Karina said that in her speech. So Canadians should, my mission is to field an ambitious Canada, to raise our level of ambitions, a confident country, a country that we are proud of. And I'll just give you one thing, because people have asked me, Minister, are you certain about the bet we've done as Canadians on the EV? And there's 2 data points. By the way, we landed the largest investment of Honda in Honda's history. 75 years of history of Honda. The largest single investment of Honda in its 75 years history around the world happens to be in Ontario, close to $15 billion. And then I had other people that say, Minister, do you really believe that EV have a future? I said, you don't need to take it from me. But I know a company called Tesla, and they happen to have a market cap of $1.3 trillion, which is the 7th largest market cap of any company in the world. And they only sell EV vehicles. So I said, you may not believe me, but it seems that the market believes in electric cars, because otherwise, why would Tesla would be the 7th largest, most valuable company in the world? So when I look at that and I said the market has validated the choice, because otherwise there's no reason why you would put such a price on that company. So, but what would have been terrible, I think, and I'll stop there, what would have been terrible is that those were generational opportunities. We owe it to the future generation. When the train passes, you need to make sure you have a stop. Otherwise, these investments would have gone south. And I think that if we don't rebuild our manufacturing sector, which we are so dependent in Ontario, and so dependent across Canada, and I can say even in Burlington in the region, I think this would have been a disservice, because you need to look at these things not over 5 years, 10 years, but 20 years and 100 years. And I think we were able to seize them, and future generation will really look back and say we were there at the right time.
Certainly compelling reasons to say yes to Canada. I might add, as a sovereign nation,
Was that another question?
Well, thank you, Dean. Thank you, Minister. I have a question that we already have an answer for, and I want to make sure we have room for one student to ask a question as well. We've got students here. Talking to the Canadian Chamber of Commerce, their position right now, there's something happening in the United States on January 20th. Their position is we need to have a sorry, not sorry perspective in dealing with our friends to the South. Potential tariffs coming in, and I wonder, just give you, I know you have an answer for this, but just the position of the government, what happens with tariffs? Are there retaliatory tariffs? How do we turn potential enemies back into friends?
Well, I mean, you've seen the rhetoric of the incoming president. I mean, it's more likely than not that we'll have tariff. I think, at this point, it's something that our job was to prevent and prepare. So prevent, we're going to continue. I'm here today. Like many colleagues, I'll be tomorrow I'm with the governor of Michigan, and we'll be at the inauguration in Washington. And what we have said to the administration, we'll have a robust response. I mean, one thing, if you go back to read The Art of the Deal of President Trump, I happen to be Minister of Foreign Affairs in Trump 1.0. And we know one thing is that he likes these leverage positions. How you create leverage is probably the essence of his book. And I think he's been doing that with Canada, but I would say not only Canada. And that's why I'd like to turn the challenge into opportunities to say, well, we have an auto pact. Why don't we look at a defense pact? Why don't we look at an energy pact? Because, by the way, if you're going to talk about decarbonization or even digitization, I'll leave you with one thought, which I think is saying a lot. You may know Gary Cohn. Gary Cohn was the president of Goldman Sachs, vice chairman of IBM, was president of the advisory council under President Trump version 1.0. Gary Gould would say, if you look at the United States today, and when you think about AI, you have to think about energy, because these two things go together. He said, if you look at generation and energy and consumption, these are going, the two lines which, are pretty much parallel. When you add quantum and AI, you have a huge dislocation. And the answer to that is Canada, because there's no way that the United States can produce enough energy to benefit from the digital economy. And therefore, I see opportunities. One thing, because I'm going to be with Westinghouse tomorrow, Canadians, or some of you may not realize, but today, with the CANDO technology, which people know here very well, and the Westinghouse technology, through Cameco and Brookfield, two other Canadian companies, we own, indirectly as Canadian, half of all the installed nuclear bases in the world. So we could become, with the United States, an energy superpower, not only domestically, but we could export that around the world where they're going to have to make a choice. I'm sure that if they were to choose nuclear energy, the United States and Canada, with half of the installed base in the world, imagine what we could do in places like Australia and Argentina and others who are looking to develop power, because energy is economic security, and economic security is national security. So I agree with you. I think that we have made our case. I think we need to speak a bit more loud. I think we need to be elbows up, chin up, and make sure that we present a confident and prosperous and ambitious Canada. And like I said, I don't want to be seen as the nice neighbor of the North. I want to be seen as the strategic partner of choice. You don't want my stuff, other people will want it. Let's be clear. That's why we have access to all these other markets. But I think we have a unique opportunity for generations to build Fortress North America, I think, as Premier Ford or others have said. And I just think, for example, a defense pact, where we're going to have to invest in defense, whether we talk about energy pact, and let's be teaming up together, and let's be, in a world of uncertainty and instability and challenges, we have a unique opportunity with our geography to lead the world in the 21st century with technology.
That's fantastic. I just wanted future leaders, students in the room. Any students? What question for any students? Any students want to ask any questions? This is your opportunity. It's your MBA opportunity.
In French, English, Italian.
Oh, we got right here, Patty. Can you bring the mic up right here?
Just say your name and what you're studying, just to guide the dean and I. The dean may know you, but I don't.
Thank you so much for everyone, for the Chamber of Commerce in Burlington. And I'm an MBA candidate for the first year, and I want to know what part we need to improve for our future career in Canada, because you just mentioned some trends like digital transformation or the democracy, so I want to know some detailed strategies.
Well, I said maybe, you never know in politics, maybe one day I'll come to teach at McMaster. It's already a big day. Don't ask me to make all decisions at once, you know. But I would say to you, I think if and you know, there's a lot of smart people in the room. So this is free advice, so you should take it with a grain of salt. You know, there's a lot, you have teachers, researchers, deans, and very, very learned people. But I would say if I was in your shoes, and I've said that to my own daughters, so it's certainly something I believe, but I would really try to see what the intersection of AI will do in their studies and jobs. I think that the digital world, the digital technologies, if I want to put it in a broader scope, will have an impact that is very difficult to even imagine today. And if I had something in my studies, I would certainly do that. The other thing that I would probably consider, which I did when I was younger, is that certainly we all have to be you know, we have to learn all our lives because now things are moving so quickly. But I think try to look at the mega trend and what you can contribute either as a business leader or environmentalist or scientist. Look at the mega trend, because one of the best books I've read recently is called Same as Ever. There's a lot of attention in the very short things that happen, but look at the mega trend in the world. And when you know at these mega trends and things that don't change and things that will change, I think you position yourself not only for today, but for the future. And I think you have the opportunity as a student. You live in the new industrial revolution, and you're going to be creating things that are difficult for us to fathom today. And obviously we'll be there to support you. And I know McMaster is a great university, so you're going to be flourishing. I have no doubt about that.
Well, thank you, Minister. Thank you to Group for hosting us. Minister is going to be around. He's a shy guy, so
there's no because otherwise
your staff is going to yell at me, Minister.
Oh, that's okay. You know, it's not the first time. We've been late for 10 years.
Thank you very much. Hello, Minister. I'm Saina, and it has been a valuable honor to hear your valuable insights. I'm a PhD candidate at the Burlington School of Business, and my stream is health management. So as I'm approaching the end of my studies and I have, completed my dissertation and have obtained my insights, I am becoming more and more enthusiastic to apply these data-driven insights at the government level to, make initiatives to enhance the healthcare system. For example, my own research is about using in pre-call investigation, machine learning, and data-driven analysis to enhance older adults' transitions through different care settings, like from acute care to long-term care and different settings. So I was thinking that, is there an initiative to increase the research opportunities for PhD graduates at the minister level, like maybe postdoc opportunities, maybe some, a context that we could apply these data-driven insights that we have been working on for 5 years at the government level to make meaningful changes, because I'm becoming more and more enthusiastic about it. Thank you.
Wow, we're lucky to have you. That's why our stage starts with people like you. Both of you, talent is our biggest resource. Our biggest resource are above ground, not underground. People forget that. It's people like you. First of all, I would say it's refreshing to hear you, because we've been pretty good in Canada in generating ideas and technology. By the way, AI, some would argue that it's been invented in Canada. Well, Jeffrey Hinton got a Nobel Prize, so we get a lot of recognition. But then we're pretty good at the ideas from invention to commercialization. That's where we're less good in a way, and that's where we need to focus a bit, how you transform an idea into a product. And that has been a challenge from a lot of universities across Canada, because you can look even in the digital world or in telecom. I mean, a lot of the 5G technology that exists today go back to Northtown and even before. We have been inventing things. I mean, that's why I'm always reminded by CDL. You probably don't know, but CDL was a minister of industry after the war, which really re-established the industrial landscape of Canada. Really believed we could make planes. He invested in things that Canadians would be, I want us to think big. To your point about innovation, and Karina would understand that because she was there, you were saying how you apply that to government. I think we'll have to modernize. Sometimes I feel that we have to deliver services in the 21st century with system of the 20th century. You know, we have not been, and I look at myself in the mirror, and it's fair to say that we've not been adapting our systems and our procedures and practices in the way to adapt to the current technology. And I'll give you an example, and you'll be, you know, and Karina, that will be something that you will, recall. I once sat with the Minister of Foreign Affairs, I think, or can't remember, was the mayor of Kiev. Can't remember, one of them. And we had to go in the room, and someone said, well, I need your passports now. And so I took out my passport, and you know, person on the phone, and so, sir, can I get your passport? And I said, well, it's mine. And I kind of look at him, where it is. No, I said, that's your phone. He means your passport. But he said, that's my passport, sir. We don't have physical passport anymore. It's in our phones. And I was like, okay. So you mean that? Okay. So I said, wow, okay. Now I see. Now I see. A country at war, you have your passport digitally in your phone. And he said, oh, we don't carry anymore the physical thing. You know, he said, we put that in our phone. So it's just an example to say that, you know, there's so many ways you can reinvent ourselves and government. And what you were saying about the field of practice, I think in terms of artificial intelligence, that's going to be a game changer in many ways, how we can provide better services at a time. And at the time where Canadians need it, I remember meeting young women entrepreneurs, and they say, how do you want it? Some of them were saying, you know, if you want to start a business, you don't start that necessarily from 8 to 5. You may have another job, so we need services from in the evening or the weekends, because that's where, if you want to start something, usually you have a family and you may have another job that becomes something. I said, but have you ever tried to call my department on the weekends? And I said, well, I'm sure it rings for a long time, put it this way. And so they said, well, what if we have tools so that we can, you know, make yourself, it's kind of, instead of making the customer or Canadians adapt to us, how do we adapt to them? And see the relationship as a customer service. And I think, to your point, I think AI, and one place where AI is going to play a big thing is in research and in science, because I think in R&D this is going to change, and you can provide higher value services. So this is a big thing. We've started with Karina and Lisa, but let me tell you, to change the way government does things, it's a process. It's a process.
Okay, thank you, Minister. We have to wrap up. Thank you for Chamber members coming out. Thank you for being members. For the students, we look forward to welcoming you into the Chamber. Thanks, everybody. Have a great day.
Hello. I only have a couple minutes because I have to go grab my kids from their daycare and after-school program. So,
Oh, thanks.
3 questions,
Yeah,
maybe.
I know you answered it earlier, but you made a point saying that you want to see someone younger. I mean, considering the front runners that are in this liberal race. No, that's not to, point out their age, but you would be considered a much younger candidate. Can you and other media outlets are saying that you are going to run. So I was wondering, is that the case that you're going to run?
Well, as I said earlier, I'll have more to say in the coming days, but what I do hear from Canadians right across the country is they are looking for someone who understands what Canadians are going through right now and understands the pressures that Canadian families are facing. They're looking for energy, they're looking for inspiration, and I have to say that the conversations that I've been having with people from Newfoundland to BC, here in Ontario, in Quebec, in the prairies, right across the country, have been really encouraging, very inspiring, and I'm thrilled to be having these conversations.
Was that any indication that the previous administration just maybe didn't get some things right these last few years?
Look, I think that there are lots of things that we have done that are important for Canadians, but I also think that we have to connect with Canadians where they are right now, and we have to meet them where they're at. And that's something that I always try to do as a member of Parliament, to make sure that I'm listening to people in my community, engaging with them, hearing what matters to them. And it's what I've tried to do as a minister these last 9 years, and it's something that I think as a Liberal Party we have to do again.
Can we expect a decision by at least the end of the week?
Yes.
Can you give us a sense of what type of supporters are getting behind your leadership bid?
That was a cute question. What I can say is that I'm hearing from young people, I'm hearing from moms with young kids, I'm hearing from people who are grandparents. I'm literally hearing from every age and demographic in this country that are excited about the possibility of renewal, of energy, and of change. And for me, that's something that has been really motivating, and I'm very appreciative to hear those calls.
And the $350,000 entry fee, that's the figure you'll be able to raise?
Yeah.
Good to know.
Sorry, I was just to clarify with the campaign, or is there a difference between the campaigning fee and the actual fee to enter the race? Because I understood there was a fee to pay just the campaign. I'm just curious. I know it's a technicality.
Yeah, I mean, those are probably questions for the Liberal Party itself. But anyways, I'll have much more to say in the coming days. But I can say that I think this is an exciting time for the Liberal Party of Canada in general. I hope there are a number of good, talented people who bring new ideas, new perspectives to the race, and who are committed to being there for the party, and most importantly, for Canadians.
Sorry, one last question. We wouldn't expect you to be on American television and do this announcement.
No. I think it's Canada first. Thank you.
Oh, sorry to keep you waiting, everyone. Pleasure to be with you all. Thank you for McMaster for a very interesting talk. Thank you also to the Burlington Chamber of Commerce. Guys, it's been a big day for me. But I made a commitment to be in Burlington, to be here hosted by Minister Gould. We had Pam Damorf, we had Lisa Effner, and also the student communities. We talk about innovation, we talk about an ambitious Canada, a confident Canada, a Canada which takes its place in the 21st century. Like I said to them, we have everything to succeed in the 21st century. We have talent, and it's you don't need to look much further than coming here, than you see in the rooms the talent we have. We have the very strong ecosystem. This is the bedrock of industrialization in Canada, here in Hamilton, but also in Ontario. We have all these critical minerals. We have the energy. We have the market. So, like I said, let's seize the moment. Let's be ambitious, and let's make sure that we present to our friends down south a very strong Canada, a Canada which is confident, ambitious, and ready to lead in the 21st century. So with that, happy to take any questions you may have in French, English, or even Italian if you want. Why not? So I'll turn over to you guys.
You have a lot of nice things to say about Mr. Gould, your host MP. If she were to declare she's running for the leadership this week, would you back her all the way?
Well, that would be a decision for another day. For me, this was already a big day. I had to... like I said before, it was a difficult decision. I was really touched by the level of support I received from Canadians from all walks of life, from coast to coast, who said, Minister, you should really run. I had a number of volunteers and organizers who said, we need your leadership. I had also colleagues who called me and say, we would really want you to lead the party. But I took the difficult decision not to run for leadership of the Liberal Party of Canada in the upcoming race. I'd rather put all my energy to support Canada with the likelihood of tariffs coming from the Trump administration, defending Canadians, defending Canadian industry, Canadian businesses. And as much as it's a difficult decision, it was the right decision at the right time. So when it comes to what I may do next, I would say that's a decision for another day. Trust me, this is already a big day for me, but I had committed to be here in Hamilton. So, and it was refreshing to see people who say, you know what, your vision of an ambitious Canada, of a prosperous Canada, a confident Canada is resonating across the nation. So today was a great example. So in whatever capacity I may have, I will continue to fight for Canada, for Canadians and Canadian businesses. Merci, monsieur. Thank you very much. Thank you, everyone. Sorry for keeping you waiting, guys. There was a lot of people who wanted to, shake hands and all that. So thank you very much. I'll see you soon. Thank you, everyone. Thank you, sir. Thank you.